Welcome, everyone, to the Think Different podcast, episode whatever. That's right. We are so happy to be here again. It is 2022. It's a brand new year, but today it's all about the past. That's right. We're going to talk about 2021 and what happened in that year of Apple. And this is the top 5 and the top worst things from Apple in that year. But before we start, my name is Will. I am the former Apple Specialist Creative and Genius. Along with me every week is the Apple Creative, retired book publisher, soccer mom recorder, Jurassic Park owner, black coffee drinker, turtle number 12, retired home president, the keynote trout drummer himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Funk is here.
Hey, what's going on, Will? Good to see you again.
I wish things were much better, but again, dealing with so much stuff going on. And I've already told you, but I'm letting the whole world know, my wife did come down with the COVID virus. I'm sure everybody knows somebody that has it right now. It's just that bad out there. I'm stuck at home for a while until she passes it along. Surprisingly, I took 2 tests.
You got to watch how you say that, man. Passes it along.
Yeah. I said exactly the way it was supposed to be said. So I'm working from home. But I am COVID free. I passed all the tests. It is very clear I might just be the Superman when it comes to COVID because it's impossible to destroy me.
Well, yeah, that sounds good. I agree with you, Will. You are.
I could be the catalyst that my bloodstream is so strong that it could reject the COVID virus in my body. And I could possibly be the solution to everybody's problems with my blood.
Well, that could be your new wrestling ID, COVID Man.
COVID Man. That is so 1970, where the year that Frank, got married. So, yes, I am COVID free, but I'm happy to be here. We're still going to do a podcast. We're still going to keep going as much as we possibly can. But I got to tell you, Frank, we've been around a sickness since before Thanksgiving. That's how long in this house. Either someone's been sick or anything. It's really crazy how bad this year has been.
Well, yeah, it's there's no end in sight. There's no real solution. Vaxxed or unvaxxed, triple vaxxed, quadruple vaxxed.
Maybe stay home.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Man. I'm thinking.
Yeah, for the most part, we've been home. So.
I thought you were going. Are you going to Florida still? Is that still a plan?
It's still on the docket. We haven't set a date yet, but it's still on the docket.
All right. Well, we'll hope to get to that. We'll hope I'll get a copy of that docket. But before we start,
there you go.
We have to get our non-sponsor in there, Zevia, baby. And I started my keto diet again, so I'm on
all right. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Down 2 pounds already.
There you go.
But it's shocking to me how much I've gained in a year. It's really bad. So I'm going to take care of this problem right now. Let's focus on the top 5 and the top worst of Apple of 2021. There was a lot of things that happened this year. We're going to find out if our lists are the same or not. I think it's kind of obvious what number 1 best is, but we'll keep that. We'll keep that hold.
I don't know. I wouldn't say they're the worst. I would say, in my mind, for me, the items I listed are most disappointing.
Okay. But disappointing doesn't sell tickets. We got to do top 5 for us.
Okay.
The best and worst. Okay.
All right. So we're going to have 4, not 5.
We're going to get the worst out of the way. I do have 5 items. I guess I'll start since you only have 4. But my top 5 worst things, I'm going to start from my bottom, work my way up to the top. The very first thing on my list is charging $19 for a stupid polishing cloth. That is one of the, and by the way, they are now in stock again. So now you go buy your $19 polishing cloth, the only cloth you're allowed to use on these new MacBook Pros with these displays, according to Apple. But the fact that they came out with a polishing cloth on the same day when they used to include something like that inside of the box.
I actually forgot about that one. So that's a good one.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think there was a cloth in there. It was a really cheap one, but I think there was a cloth.
Oh, so the $19 one is an upgrade.
That's correct. You got to get an upgrade. But yeah, that polishing cloth was one of the stupidest things. And the fact that, people like on Christmas were opening gifts and someone pretended to go crazy on the $19 polishing cloth was perfect. So that was, I thought, pretty funny.
So that's your number 5 or number 1?
Yeah, that's number 5. That's like the because I wasn't buying that pieces, at all. But I'll go with my 4th one since you still have one more. Since you have 4, the next one was the MagSafe battery pack. I thought that product design was terrible.
Okay,
it looks bad. It only works with certain phones, and it doesn't look like an Apple product. And the fact that it looks so bulky on the end, and there were just some, like, you can't even do reverse charging on it, which actually this proved that reverse charging was possible, but it's still not enabled at all on the iPhone. So it just kind of pointed out that Apple could do more with their phones, charging your AirPods as an example, but it's not enabled. So that was my number 4.
Okay. So my number 4 was not necessarily, well, I guess it's not a physical product. Okay. My number 4 is the CSAM, the child sex abuse material.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good idea, but not well received by the privacy advocates. So Apple has tabled the project for now and is doing additional research and tweaking. Whether they're going to release it later on in this year or next year, who knows? But it's just been received with mixed reviews, and so they kind of tabled it because I think
I didn't even know they tabled that. I didn't even know they tabled that.
Yep.
That was news to me. When did they make that announcement, or where did you hear from that?
I didn't really get a date on it, but it's just, I say tabled. It's been back tabled, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. So I'm just assuming it's kind of postponed for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I did not have on my list. I think we were mixed on it. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I thought the good thing was the messages one, where the parents get the messages, which is not that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the whole crux of the matter is what side of the line are you on? Total privacy, or and that's and that kind of ties in with my number 3 in a sense.
Oh, you might as well just tie into your number 3. Go ahead.
Well, my number 3 is this alternative app store payment debacle.
Yep.
And again, it's all a matter of the customer's perspective. I bought into Apple because one of the reasons is because I wanted it to be a safe, secure environment. I don't have to worry about hackers. So now if you open up the App Store to alternative payment methods, you're opening the door potentially for hackers. And it's like, now if I have a problem, who do I go to? Do I go to Epic? Do I go to Apple? Right now, I have a problem with billing or whatever, I go to Apple. And it's taken care of. Whether you use the Apple card and you go to Goldman Sachs, or you go right to Apple customer service. So for me, I think part of this is, again, from a customer perspective, I want one source to buy and customer service.
If the day comes that they have to do that, then as customers who make the choice, might I add, of that decision, if you decide not to go through Apple's App Store, now, of course, there's going to be a pricing difference probably, which is what's going to happen. You're going to have a discount if you go through the other payment methods compared to Apple. But you have to realize, if you have a problem with that company, Apple's probably going to wipe their hands.
Well, I disagree with that. If there was a price difference, in other words, Apple's getting 30% of whatever the cost of the product is, right? From, let's say, Epic. Well, if that 30% is built into the price, what do they care?
Right.
If they're fighting for an alternative method, for billing, they're not saying that the alternative billing, the price is going to be less to their customers. It just means there's going to be more profit for them.
So I'm going to tell you a good situation I ran into. I was going to buy a Cameo for something for Christmas. The person I asked a Cameo for, I paid through the app. I used Apple Pay to pay for it. The guy hit me back up through a private message, which I can't respond back without paying for it because that's a feature of Cameo that doesn't allow me to. They told me to rebuy on the Cameo website and buy it there instead of Apple because Apple takes a 30% cut. So not only did he do that, but then he charged more. So he changed the price around. So I was going to be charged more money than what I was advertised, which was like a $60. It went up to like $80. I was like, I'm not doing that. Through
their website?
Yeah, no, but he changed it everywhere. He changed the price everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't just the app. It was also on, but I was like, well, that's not fair. Why am I was advertised you to be this amount of money. And because of what that's your fault. Then you should charge more in the first place. And then I wouldn't have even cared. Because if it was $80, I still would have bought it, Right. But now that he promised me for this price, and now he's charging me this price, I said, no way. So this is an example of where someone has denied my payment, and what they've done is they try to force me to go on the web version of it to pay for it using a credit card to save them money to get them, more money back on their
right.
On their Cameo. It wasn't even a celebrity. It was it was something else. It wasn't even that. But the point is, I didn't do it. And this is an example of, the problem that exists out there, that people don't like the amount of money that's taken out of their payment. Well, then you got to add that into your price of what you're charging.
Or, you got to remember that as a vendor, if you want to get to the audience that the Apple App Store has, that costs you something.
Right. And
nobody's breaking your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody's breaking their arm to sign that contract. Right. If you sign the contract, abide by the contract. Mm-hmm. What? So you don't like it now after you have access to billions of customers. Now you want to change the rules? That's not how it works.
Well, that's now made me not want to go on their platform either. So look at it like that. So
so
makes
now
it bad. So now he's out of a gig, and it makes me not want to do it. So that's that. We have to move on to the next thing. I'm going to go to my idea. This is something I have in my home now that I absolutely love, especially that I upgraded to the new Apple TV this year. It is the HomePod, and the fact that Apple has ended the HomePod entirely. And what I find ironic is that in Apple stores, they made these new HomePod rooms, like to showcase their sound.
Are you talking about the HomePod Mini or the HomePod?
No, the HomePod.
The original.
Yeah,
okay.
The original HomePod. Yep. They ended the HomePod, and they had all these different stores that had all these beautiful rooms to showcase the sound quality of the HomePod. Well, now they're completely pointless. Now they're just going to have minis in there, which are nowhere near the sound of those HomePods. Right. The fact that I have this almost surround sound experience from my Apple TV 4K, because I upgraded to the 4K Apple TV for one reason. That is to have better control with the HomePod, because it was able to sync the wireless audio much better than the first one. And ever since I made that change, it is so much better. As far as the syncing goes, I still have at times here and there where it goes out for a second, comes back, but it doesn't happen often. But the idea of them ending the HomePod sucks, because I think it's a great product. It's not what everyone thought it was going to be, and I think Apple marketed it incorrectly. Because we were in the store, we always had to say, well, this is really a audio product first. But the problem is it's got Siri on the top of it for you to press and make it look like a home automation product. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work the way that people thought it was going to, and people didn't like it. But I think the sound for
Well,
home.
when you say people, I think the mass market didn't like it.
No,
okay.
No.
The audiophiles
they didn't like
liked
the price.
it. Right, exactly. If they sold it for $99, they would have sold them out the wazoo.
Right. But the other problem is that it just didn't have a speaker output. Like you couldn't add, another output option on there. So that limits you on what you could do with it. So there was a lot of limitations with it. And there still is, with the HomePod.
Listen, I'll talk about it when we get up further because I too have something that ties into the HomePod. But
okay,
all right.
Well,
so that was your number. That was your number 3.
Okay. The worst of the 3. Yep.
All right. So my number 2, believe it or not, and I know you're going to disagree with this, are AirTags. Not because they're not a good product. It's just that it's just not my favorite. I don't have a current need to have them, to use them. And it's like, no big deal for me. Didn't shake me one way or the other. So I just said, that made my list of, again, most disappointing for me.
Do you even have a tracking system with any of your stuff?
Yes, I have a wife. She tracks everything I do.
Good. That was awesome. I can't come back with that. I just can't come back with that. So I got nothing on that one. That's perfect. Well, I do have a wife, but does not know where all my stuff is all the time. So I had to get rid of that. So my number 2 worst is Apple's promise of universal control. And if you remember what that is, it was announced alongside Monterey and the iPad. It bridges the Mac and the iPad devices to use a single mouse and keyboard for both the drag and drop content between the two. And this is not even going to come out till the spring. And it was promised in the fall. So this is, again, Apple delaying something to not come out till very close to the end of the operating system, which will tie into my number 1 in general. But universal control was a cool feature I thought would be really awesome to have drag and drop stuff from your iPad. It could really add to your experience of a Mac and an iPad and what you could do with that, especially like between files. Like if I'm working on something here and I can go drag it over to my iPad, I think that would be so helpful. But this is a feature that is not coming out. They delayed it. And I'm very disappointed that Apple has not addressed it fast enough.
Yeah,
because it's a cool feature that it's probably the best feature that Monterey was going to have. SharePlay came out a little late too. Even SharePlay took a whole update to come out. But I would have loved the idea of your mouse and your trackpad working simultaneously between and drag one to another. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep.
So that's a feature that I'm very upset about them. But you're number 1.
My number one is the HomePod Mini. And this is how it ties into the HomePod. I'm just pissed that they discontinued the HomePod.
Yeah.
And HomePod Mini for $99. I get it. But for me, I'm not getting it. I don't buy it. I don't want it. Mm-hmm. For me as a musician, I enjoy good sound. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna. Well, in the old days when you had your stereo equipment, you spend $600 to $1,000 for stereo equipment, and you buy $99 speakers. No, you buy top quality, expensive speakers for the reproduction of the sound. And along with you, I'm just disappointed that they discontinued the HomePods. I would have liked to seen them at least have them still available if you want them.
Right. They should have cut the price down even more, or they should have done something. Well, like even if you just take the Siri feature away or something, like just keep the sound, what you could do with it compared to the Apple TV. Which next episode I want to talk about what we would like to see in 2022, which I think could tie into this and the Apple TV. having a combo product kind of together. But
Right.
this to me was, it just didn't make any sense, especially that they put so much effort into it. I mean, it
Yes.
comes across like a failing product, which
And-
to me it's like no different than the iPod Hi-Fi. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah,
That
and
was
to
a
me,
failing product too.
but the HomePod, in my opinion, is not a failing product. Is it a niche product? Yes. Is it for the $99 market? No.
No.
It's for the audiophile or for the videographer or the person that's streaming movies and wants beautiful, vivid sound. And not to mention that it adapts to the room. You don't even have to do anything special.
Right.
So
it's funny too how people, like with the AirPods Max, how people trash that product, and it's a selective group of people that get that product. Right. But I will say, over the year, a lot of people really like that as their traveling headphones. Like they really like them. So people really like the AirPods Max. So as much as we trash the price of it, which I still will do,
right?
I think that thing needs to be $100 cheaper. I think the AirPods Max somehow, some way, kind of grew on people, even though there's some limitations on what it could do.
I kind of.
It's the same thing with the HomePod. I think it grew on me. I think it was the best quality sound for the price. Yes. I had to buy 2 speakers though to make sound look great. So if you think about it, at the time, if I didn't work there, I would have to pay $349 twice, and I paid half that because we got a 50% discount.
Yeah,
which was, I thought, the correct price for it.
Well, but keep in mind, when you're talking about an audio product, in probably just when you were born, you had a stereo that filled half the room, and you had tall speaker cabinets that cost you a lot of money. Right. Bose made their mark in that speaker market. I mean,
the higher quality. Yep.
So
Sonos, I would say,
they were not cheap. They were not cheap. Clips, the same thing. Now you see these Clips headphones all over the place for $19. Well, back in the day, Clip speakers were some top shelf stuff. So, but anyway, so they're my 4 most disappointing.
And my number 1 is software in general. When it comes to Apple, software has taken a back seat big time. I will tell you, the amount of bugs in Monterey, like people couldn't even put an SD card in their reader in these new Macs when the first Monterey was out. Like, it didn't even work. And there's been so many buggy issues with iOS 15, features that are announced that don't come out till like the very last possible time frame. There are just so many software problems I think that they need to work on. I already told you, the camera. You should not have to swipe 7 times to go from time lapse to video. And now you add cinematic, like on my phone, as another one to add on. You can't do that anymore. There's got to be a better way. And they have just been, I honestly think they have been putting so much resources in their stupid car and maybe in their hardware, because I think the hardware has been getting so much better. They're forgetting about the software, which is a core reason why these products are so good.
Yep.
So
well,
they're forgetting that. They're causing too many problems. Like, there's just too many bugs, and there's too many things missing that are promised that don't deliver. I just can't. I'm at the point now where iOS 16 and all this have to address these things. Like, they have to address them.
Well, I always thought that, when you're talking about software, I always thought that the Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, they never paid, not that they didn't pay attention
they still
to
don't.
it, not that but they didn't emphasize the products enough. The only people that emphasized it were...
Final Cut Pro on iPad doesn't even exist, and it's got an M1 chip in it.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not out yet? Why is Apple not making something compatible for it? It has a USB-C. It could do everything that basically a Mac can do.
Yeah.
There's so much software problems within this company now that it's starting to become very obvious. I know maybe to you it wasn't so obvious, but as I point out things that are definitely an issue, it's a problem.
Well,
and you can see a lot of videos about it.
I would say the issue is not so much the software, but the lack of development of the existing software.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you're gonna promise something, you need to deliver it. And I'm tired of waiting till the spring until the next OS comes out for it to be released.
Well, how about the multi charger where you can put your iPhone and the watch and the thing? I mean, do they still?
That's a hardware product. I mean, that's a hardware product. I mean, I wouldn't count that as software, but I mean, there is software has something to do with it, but I think that was more of a hardware issue.
Well, I think
there's so many options out there to buy now. There's no point in even bother making this match.
Yeah, well, I guess my point is that if you suggest, whether it be software related or hardware related, that you're going to have this, well, bring it to fruition. Don't just say, well, we're not going to do it now.
Right.
Well,
those are the worst 5 of the items. I want to try to move it along to the top 5. Now, my top 5 is going to be interesting because it's your worst number 1, and that's the HomePod Mini. Now, I'm putting products on my list that I bought. Now, I didn't put the Apple TV 4K on there. It's probably going to be my number 6. Honestly, the more I thought about it, I should have put Mini as my number 6. Apple TV is because the Apple TV 4K, the new one, is very fast. Like, again, I compare the Apple TV compared to other like Roku and all the other ones. They're slow compared to the Apple TV. They are fast. And I'm hoping they do more with it. The reason why I put the HomePod Mini on there is, number 1, I bought it, so I have to put it on the list. And 2, that it's a nice extension in my home somewhere. I didn't want. Right. I put that in my kitchen so I could do timers and stuff. The problem is the HomePod's too far away to do timers, and sometimes can't pick me up. So having that little box there to tie into it, I thought was very valuable. So I liked that add-on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could play, smaller. I could play more sound over there when we're having dinner. So I kind of like having the Mini there. So I did think the Mini was a good buy. $99 is much better for a smart speaker than $350, which ended up being $299. That's for sure.
Well, my number 5, and I didn't even think about this until I actually heard them, were the AirPods, 3rd generation with spatial audio.
I didn't buy them, but I would have.
I didn't buy them, but my sister bought them for her granddaughter, and I kind of tested them out, and
they sound good, huh?
Pretty damn nice.
Do they fit well in your ear? Like for your ears?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Me,
everyone's ears are different. So honestly, I think different AirPods work for different ears. Like the 1st gen work better than my AirPods Pro because they don't fall out as easily. These fall out very easily compared to that. But yeah, I heard great things about those, and that it was worth it's worth buying that generation over the 2nd gen. I heard.
Yep. So that was my number.
My number 4 was Apple adding the avoid tracking feature. They finally released the tracking feature that doesn't allow third-party apps to track your activity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big thing for you. You liked that a lot.
Yeah. I did like it a lot, but I didn't even think of it as That
was this is a terrific idea. I like the idea of companies not knowing less about me as possible. Am I going to leave Facebook? No, I'm not going to leave Facebook. I'm not going to leave Instagram because it's also a business tool for me. And I get a lot of inquiries from them. So I need to keep them around.
Right.
But as far as them advertising to me and trying to get me to buy stuff that they are tracking me to know about, I'm going to try my best to stop that from happening. So I thought coming out with that and going for it, no matter what pushback they got, was still great.
Yep. For me, number 4 was the iPhone 13 Pro and the 13.
I'm going to spoil this. I did not put the iPhone on my list.
No?
Even though I bought it.
Wow. How come?
Well, I told you in my review of it last time that the battery is my biggest problem with it.
Yeah.
My battery drains just as quickly as I feel as if I had a 12. So I don't feel like it's any better. And again, I haven't done a real world use yet. I have a wedding next weekend to film, so I'll really get to test it out. but
Well,
they're
I've been
still
doing
not.
a lot of research on the 13 Pro and the 13, and I'm like, I'm like this close. Do I go to the 13, or
I
do
would tell you
I
to wait.
stay and wait for the 14? But anyway, and the ones I've seen, people are just blown away with them.
Yeah,
They're
it's still a great product. Like
Yeah.
I still like if I erased that machine and I started from scratch, and I bet you it'd be a much better experience. But again, the display quality is top notch, the best
Yeah.
for a smartphone. There's nothing beating it. My number three, and this is a lovely thing for both of us, Apple's stock growth. And you're gonna hate now. I'm gonna. But one of the big reasons this happened was when two major things happened. One, when they announced right to repair was going to be available this year, which I know you were against, but the stock grew crazy when that happened. And then when they were valued at a 200 level earlier in December, it grew like crazy again. But Apple stock this year is a tremendous amount of growth within a year. I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to look up from 1 year ago to where we are now. So 1 year ago, they were at 130, and they are now at 172.
Yeah, I was going to say they're almost last week they were close to 180.
Yeah, they were up. They were even higher than that, 180.
My prediction is that for Apple stock, I think it's going to go up and it's going to split again.
I think at some point they're going to split again. Yes, I
mean they're toying with a $3 trillion company, being one of the first $1 trillion companies again, and then you're like, I mean, how much cash do they have on hand?
Well, look in the Bank of the Netherlands. I have no idea. It's somewhere in the Netherlands, though, that's for sure. So it ain't in the U.S. banks, I can tell you that.
Well, I mean, the amount of money they have on hand is incredible. Yep. And if you think about,
I'd be very curious if they have any debt. I'm assuming they don't, but I'd be very curious. What kind of debt
you can have debt with cash on hand.
Yeah,
debt is a good thing because that establishes your credit.
Yeah, but Apple could probably pay off their debt, so I don't know why they just don't do it.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. See, you need to have debt. Okay.
Yeah, tell Toys R Us that. Tell Sears.
No, I'm not saying excessive debt. I'll give you an example. My father, one time when he was going to go buy a car, my father's house was paid off. He didn't owe anybody any money. He went to buy a new car, and they said he didn't qualify for 0% financing. And my father was like, what? What are you, crazy? He says, well, you don't owe anybody any money. And my dad looked at him. He says, so that's a bad thing? He says, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't establish you as a good credit risk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean by that. Sometimes you need debt to show,
Well, I paid off all my debt except my house. So my house is technically debt, as well as, every time you use a credit card, technically that would count as debt until you pay it off. But I'm very clean. This year, the goal, 2023, buy a new house, baby. And that Apple stock is going to be a part of that plan.
You're looking for a house?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'll sell you my house.
No, I don't want to live where you are. So.
Why?
I don't know.
Close to where you work?
Yeah, to me, not for her. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You ain't selling your house yet. You let me know when you're selling your house and we'll talk.
All right.
What's your number two?
My number two. Oh, no, number three.
Number three, yeah.
My number three is the MacBook Pro 1416 with the M1 Pro and Pro Mac chips.
How dare you put that as low as you have, sir?
Yeah, well,
I know you don't have one. That's probably why. But I mean,
I kind of went in.
Did you buy any Apple products this year? Actually, I just realized. Did you buy any Apple products this year? I don't think you did.
No.
Wow.
Well, not for me personally, but I did bring customers into the store, so I did get my commission.
We don't make commission at Apple.
I sold 2 iMacs. Okay, one to my neighbor, one to my
Nah, doesn't
cousin.
count.
Doesn't count. Well,
No, you didn't buy anything.
I
You know how
did.
much stuff I bought this year? I bought an Apple TV. I bought a HomePod. I bought AirTags. I bought a MacBook Pro. I bought an iPhone. This is the heaviest amount of stuff I've bought in 1 year.
Yeah,
when
but
it comes
Will,
to
you're
Apple.
forgetting I'm a senior citizen.
You have
I'm
more
on a
money than
fixed
me.
income. I'm
You
on
have
a
more
fixed
money
income.
than me.
I have Social Security coming in. That's it.
How much do you have in your stock? Tell me. Tell right now. It's all live.
Now you're getting personal now. What do you mean stock?
You opened up the personal. Let's go. Let's go. Say it. Say the number. Say it.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
My
yeah.
stock
You
portfolio.
have plenty of money. You have plenty of money. Don't liar. But anyway, yes. MacBook Pro. Yes. Eventually you'll buy one. I know you will.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
My number 2 is one of your favorites, AirTags are my number 2. Now I bought them, and I got to tell you, the precision tracking is amazing. So,
well, like I said, to me, it's just I don't know. There wasn't enough to entice me to buy one.
But you don't lose your stuff. Again, you have your wife.
Right.
I have a wife,
That's
but
right.
she don't know where my stuff is. So for me, the precision tracking is good. I like the idea. Like the other day, I couldn't find my wallet. I put the sound feature on. Now the sound's not loud. I would agree that could be a little bit louder. And maybe a second gen maybe they'll say we knocked the sound up over 30%. I guarantee that's something they're going to say. They're going to say that. So that's how Apple says it. Like 30% more of sound, which is what they definitely need. And that's the one downside is it's not loud enough. But the tracking feature to find my stuff, really amazing.
Now,
so and the fact that it knows, I like too. Like if I leave my backpack behind, I leave anything behind, it tells me. So
yeah.
I love
but
that.
you can replace the batteries yourself in those, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2.
My number 2 is the 24-inch iMac with the M1 chip.
Yeah,
I really like that machine.
There is some creative stuff in there. I like the idea of the Ethernet going into the power brick. Love that idea. Can't believe that has not been done.
Yeah.
But, I think it was a little shady that they did a $200 difference between a Touch ID one and an Ethernet one compared to a regular. That was a little stupid. I think they could have they should just released it as one. I would rather them just start at the $14.99. Forget about the other one. The other one's it's not worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the price differential between some of the options, it's pretty reasonable. I mean, you're talking $200 to increase your solid state drive capacity. I mean, come on. That's like that.
I think the design is great. I think it's too thin. I think it would have been nice if they would have had a SD card slot there, but I think they're saving that for the Pro, which is, again, another thing we talk about for next episode about 2022. But yeah, a good start point for the iMac. Yes. And I thought it's beautifully designed. And the fact that they have the old colors, even Monterey, they do the hello in script, which is awesome. Again, Apple's going back to their roots and doing some cool stuff this year. And that's why I think maybe there's a reason I bought so much stuff this year, because Apple's doing something right. They're listening to the fans and they're delivering on every product. I think. Well,
the only reason I haven't purchased a 24-inch is because
you want a bigger size.
I'm waiting to see if and what they do with the 27.
Or 30, and we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be.
Whatever it's going to be. Yeah.
But again, you won't need a pro design machine, but you like the idea of the screen. That's the main reason you want it.
Yeah.
So, number 1.
My number 1 is the product that started it all is the MacBook Air with the M1 chip. That's why it's my number 1. Yeah. Yep.
Well, technically, wouldn't the MacBook Pro also count as that?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean,
came out the same day.
Well, the MacBook Air the Pro came out later. The MacBook Air was the first one, and that's kind of started the new Apple Silicon. And I think that's going to be huge going forward. Yeah.
I think Silicon is in general going forward because Google copied it this year, and now everyone's going to copy it. Everyone's going to manufacture their own chips. Qualcomm and Intel specifically are in a lot of trouble.
Well, I was just going to say, so I guess that means you're going to sell your Intel stock, right?
I don't have Intel stock, but I do have Qualcomm stock. That I do have. I will sell that stock the moment that Apple says that they're putting the Intel chips they bought for their mobile side. The moment they put those in there, I sell my Qualcomm immediately because Qualcomm is going to lose all. I mean, they're still going to manufacture for older phones, but in 5 years, they're going to not use Qualcomm at all. Yeah. So, yeah, I 100% think that's a great number one, which ties into my number one, which is the very product I bought, the one I'm talking to you right now on, my MacBook Pro 16-inch. The beauty of beautiful right here. Well, this is a game. Again, you could look everywhere. The video you showed me about the audio guy talking about these M1s, there is not one person on this planet that I have looked up that said, I'm returning this because it doesn't do what I expected. Wow. You know, or that the power is not there, or the battery life's not there. They gave us everything we needed in this device. Yeah. The future of Apple is in this device. The MagSafe coming back, the HDMI coming back, the weights coming back, the beautiful keyboard
SD
design,
card slot, right?
The SD card slot, the Retina display with the 120 hertz. You know, at least finally put a 1080p camera in here. Yeah. You know, finally, but just still like they should still be a little bit higher than 1080p. I mean, let's be real. But this is a game-changing product that will shape the iMac Pro coming out, rumored this year, the new MacBook Air that's coming out, which possibly could have MagSafe again. You know, they're changing their designs all around because I think that the feedback they got from this machine is so positive that they cannot ride the wave and do this now with all their other products.
Yeah, they're going to have to step it up when it comes to the next products.
I don't know how they could beat this product because it's such a thing that people really like. You know, if they come out with an iMac Pro and they decide to put a SD card slot in there and an HDMI output, I mean, they really don't have to do an HDMI output with that one. They could still get away with the USB-C. But, you know, there is some, you know, there's a change. Yeah. And like I said, software has taken a backseat. It's funny how a hardware product, and I have a software product as my worst, you know, they're getting the hardware right. I have 3 of products on my best list that were things I bought this year. You know, and on the other side, the software is the next thing they have to work on, I think, to improve their overall system and to make us happier and to not promise us things and wait a year to give it to us.
Well, you know, I mean, it could be, you know, in 2022, the software may be the star of the show.
That's fine.
It's hard to say, you know.
I'd be perfectly fine with that. They had a tremendous hardware year this year.
Yeah.
It shows that we're putting 2 products on here that are both hardware-based that have changed the game when it comes to computing. Yep. And that people are adapting to. You know, Adobe Day One had the adaptation of Apple Silicon ready to go. And Rosetta 2 works perfectly fine, you know, with everything. I haven't had a problem with anything that works on Rosetta 2 on this. So I still don't hear the fan. I have not heard the fans to this day.
Hey,
you know.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you watch that video I sent you?
Yes, and I told you. I told you I watched it and how he was like what he was playing back and for audio reasons. I mean, for audio, they don't need a Max, that's for sure. But you know, for video.
For those listening to this podcast, I sent Will a video from Sweetwater. Now, Sweetwater is a huge music store out in the Midwest. I mean, they ship all over the world for musical equipment, audio equipment, recording, and they did a review on the MacBook Pro that he couldn't say enough good. I mean, he had thousands of iterations in his recording software. He says, I can't see anybody ever using this many tracks, but this thing didn't even burp. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was so impressed with it. So
Mhm.
I sent it along to you because I thought you would appreciate all the technical
No,
stuff. that
it's
he was
it's just
talking
like how
about.
everyone else talks about this product. It's the same.
Yep.
Everyone loves this product. So that's why it deserves to be number one. It should be on the top 5 list of everyone's machine. I'm surprised you didn't put it as number one, but I can see
Yeah.
why you did the MacBook Air.
Well, I
As your
kind
number
of did
one.
it like by date kind of thing.
Okay. Well, this is, to me, there's no other number one electronic product on this list this year than this product.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than this. So that's our top five worst and best. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We're happy to be back here. Hopefully we're on a rhythm here that we're still going on. And next episode, we will talk about for 2022 what we expect. Also for 2022, more training videos. I'm going to be publishing the latest video that Frank did on numbers, which talks about how to organize and use a little bit more of the cells and how to use pop-up menus. So we're going to publish that on there. We're getting more subscribers every day. So we thank you. Check out our YouTube. Your video is over 30K views, Frank, for numbers.
You go, man.
You
Hurry
are
up
the
and
number
put the next one out.
numbers video probably out there.
Wow.
So that's how powerful you are. And we're getting subscribers just because of that video.
Are there any negative reviews?
If there's, very rare.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
You should be proud of that you did such a great job. But this is why learning from an Apple creative is so easy to understand. We were trained that way, right?
Yeah. Yes, in the Steve Jobs method.
The Steve Jobs way. Yes, we got trained in the Steve Jobs way. Like right now, if I'm looking it up right now, just because you asked, if I go to our views, your likes are at 96.7%.
Wow, man, that would have warranted an award in and of itself, man.
Yep, that's a promoter right there. Same thing with my video. My video is not as high as yours. Actually, yours is like 10,000 more than mine, and it's at 96.2.
There you go.
So there you go. That's my point.
We're flying high, buddy.
There we are. We got to do more training videos, that's for sure.
All
right, guys. We want to thank you for joining us for this version of the podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, Facebook, and our Twitter. We really do appreciate all the feedback that you guys give us, and we will see you here hopefully soon. We are here almost every Friday, every other Friday, whenever it is. But we thank you guys, and I love every single one of you.
Peace out, man.